Welcome back to Where Are They Now podcast. My guest today, folks, the only way to describe it, and this is just me probably being an Italian from the Northeast, is the godfather of Big Break. I mean, this is a guy that was on Big Break 2, September, I think it premiered in September 2004. It was out of Vegas. You'll remember they made that stop in Ontario, California, little putting competition. Big Mike was not real thrilled with the ride. He had to go. The other guys took the jet. Winner received 4 exemptions into the nationwide tour. And man, that was something back then. Now we've come full circle to the interview we had yesterday with Toph Peterson, and Jimmy won a $180,000 package, right? This is the early days of Big Break. And those were meaningful events and exceptions for these guys. And it was a battle, and we're able to talk to Don, and we'll get into that with him. He also was part of the reunion. It was filmed in Kissimmee, Florida, in February of 2000, or it premiered in February. I'm sorry, in 2007. And then I even think he did a guest appearance, and probably more than just this, but in the USA and versus Europe. I remember seeing him start trouble on that show as well. He's very famous for the "pull that thing tight" comment, which I thought was outstanding because that's just straight from the heart. I need every inch. It's quarter inch, millimeter. So make sure that line is tight. I am very proud to welcome to our podcast, Don Double D Donatello. Don, welcome to Where Are They Now?
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you having me on. And I know your viewers would like to know some deep, stuff in there and what happened, and this will be fun.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. We've had more responses about you. And everybody agrees that you're a talented golfer, and there's no question there. And you showed the talent, especially under the circumstances, Don. And before we get to the quick hitters, I really want to have a conversation around pressure. The pressure that you guys had, and I've talked to a dozen big breakers, and I have another, it's almost 20, I think we have scheduled over the next couple of weeks. The constant theme, the reoccurring theme. And I've talked to people like Mark Silvers and we talked to Mark Murphy yesterday. The pressure, these are guys like yourself that are out there and we're playing, and they're saying, I've never felt anything like this. And so I dug into that a lot, and I went into them and said, why is it? And I want your take on this. One, they said that it's the talent of the people there. Even if they're playing bad, they're able to make incredible shots. And so it's everybody, whether it's men or women, the people that are in Big Break, they can play. Now, you might have not caught them at a time when they're playing their best golf, but their ability, even the folks, and this is proven time and time, I've watched countless hours, even the people that aren't playing well, hole stuff out, hit a 30-foot putt. It happens all the time. The other thing is cameras, right? There are cameras on and off the course. They're all over the place. The other thing that I didn't consider as I jumped into this journey was the downtime because of the production, right? It's I think Mark Murphy was telling us in Ireland, he's sitting, the guys go warm up. Then he goes and sits down for 2 hours on a bench wrapped in blankets, and they call him up for one shot, and he goes back and sits down for another 90 minutes. That is incredible pressure. Tell us about how you were all over the place in many different series. Tell us how you handled it.
Well, a lot of the things that the other guys are saying are correct because, when you're warming up and not knowing what you're warming up for, and then you're getting out there, and let's say you're the last person to hit, you might not hit a shot for an hour. Then you're watching everybody hit, so you know what you need to do. When you're playing golf, you're just focused on you and focused on the golf course and hitting shots, but now you're watching guys perform, which puts more pressure on you, and it intensifies the longer you're in the show. Like my show, we taped 20 hours a day, and we were there for 15 days. And we were up at 4:30 in the morning having breakfast, and we didn't get to bed until almost midnight every single night because they wanted to keep the mics on us. And so having the mics on us, having the cameras on us at all times, not knowing what you're going to do, know that one shot you could go home, any shot you could go home. And like you said, any of these guys, they might not be great for 18 holes, but you would be amazed what people can do when they have one chance. They could pull a rabbit out of their hat. And some guys did, and, caught up to them. And the better players seem to kind of hang in there because they could deal with the pressure. That's really the difference between a tour player and a mini tour player. can they handle the pressure when it really matters? And the guys on tour can handle the pressure better than anybody. That's why they're on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, so true. So true. We're going to jump right into our quick hitters. This is the segment where our listeners have sent in questions. The first few questions are just, they wanted to know this from every big breaker. And then we're going to finish with 3 or 4 that are specifically directed to you, Don. Good segue into it. Many people want to know, take us through that typical day, right? How early are you up in the morning? We saw you guys at the breakfast table. We saw that gathering. Do you really get to work out in the driving range and the putting green and all that stuff? And then how long are you filming, and how much are you playing golf, and what you do at night? Give us a typical day.
You were up around 4:30 in the morning. We all had to meet at the table together to have breakfast. And then where I was in Vegas, we had the Sirens come up, which is the show there at Treasure Island, and tell us what, kind of clues for the day. We'd all pack our stuff up. We'd all get in a bus. There was 3 golf courses that we were playing, so we didn't know which golf course we were going to do anything. So we'd get in the bus. We'd go to the golf course. We'd sit around there for an hour. We'd sit around there for 2 hours. We'd sit around there for 3 hours, and they would say, all right, we're ready. You guys need to go warm up. So we'd go out and we'd go warm up, and the next thing you know, they'd come back and say, hey, stop warming up. We've had some problems with the setup stuff on your thing. Go back in the clubhouse and wait. And so because we were the second big break, they really didn't have their P's and Q's together. They were winging it. And when you wing things, sometimes it takes longer. So then once we did one episode or one of those shots, we'd have to come back in, have lunch, then go do another one, and then we'd do the elimination challenge. So you would be at the golf course from 6:30 in the morning all the way until dark, 12 hours, 13, 14 hours, only shooting 3, like the first one show, really.
Yeah.
And then after we did that, we went back to the hotel. We took showers. Some of us did, some of us didn't, because you had to do interviews. So every guy, no matter if you got eliminated or not, you had to do interviews talking about the day, talking about your shots, how you were feeling. Then you finally had dinner. After that, we had entertainment. Like one time, I think if you saw Kip and us, we went to that circus.
Mm-hmm.
We'd have one night we did, like we got to go down and gamble one night. Most of the time they wanted us to stay in the penthouse suite and develop friendships, also develop hatred. So it'd be best for the show. And then, they wanted to keep the mics on us at all times. So, and there was a lot of times I was tired after 15 straight days. I wanted to go to bed.
I bet. Judy from New Haven, Connecticut wanted to know, what happened to the eliminated players? Where did they go? Did they stay somewhere else? Did they leave? I thought they came back at the end, but what happened to the eliminated players? And what did they do?
All right, so here's the crazy thing. So Vegas had odds on who was going to win. But they didn't realize that Big Break 1 and Big Break 2, they were sending guys home. And after Big Break, about the middle of Big Break 2, they took the odds off of Vegas because they realized that they're going to know who's going to win. So they sent everybody home. If you got eliminated on Big Break 2, you went home. Now, every Big Break after that, they had to stay the whole entire time. So no one would know that somebody got eliminated. Like if I get eliminated in 3 days, I came home, my wife's going to go, what are you doing home? You're supposed to be gone for 2 weeks or 15 days.
Right.
So that's what they had. That's what they started doing after Big Break 2. They started keeping everybody the whole entire time.
Got it.
And you know what's so
Go
tough?
ahead.
Just to tell you what's so tough is when you went to go use the restroom, somebody had to be near you, not watching you, because they didn't want you talking to anybody or telling them what was going on. So anytime we went somewhere, we had to go as a group. So if 2 of us wanted to go practice, somebody had to come with us and sit out there while we practiced. It was we had to sign a 15-page documentation saying that if we said anything about what happened, results, we'd be criminally put in jail, fines. It was a pretty big deal.
That's a good segue into Mark from Naples, Florida's question. Don, were you sworn to secrecy from the time that you found out you were on the show till even after it premiered?
Yeah, and they gave us about a 15-page documentation. I read through every single page. It about drove me nuts. But they had if we told anybody, or jail time, and fines. Also, after I got done with the big break, I was caddying on the PGA Tour, and I had to go back out on tour, and they didn't air the big break for another 2 or 3 more months after that, and I couldn't tell anybody, which is really tough, especially when you're around friends and among all the players. They all want to know what's going on.
Right. Interesting. Judy from Chicago asked, did you get to practice the challenges? It would seem hard to just go out there and start doing a flop ball or glass break.
So every now and then they would say, you're going to play golf. So then you'd warm up differently because you need to hit drivers and 3-woods. Maybe they might say, hey, this segment's going to be short game, just so you're not just over there hitting 7-irons, sweating and getting really hot and wore out. So every now and then they would tell you, but pretty much they didn't start doing that until about halfway through, because it was so hot in Vegas. You couldn't sit out there and practice for hours,
Got it. Now we get into one specifically to you. Don, did you stay in contact with any of the big breakers even today?
Yes. Well, Kip Henley, caddies on the PGA Tour, so I see him all the time. So I talk to him all the time. And the players out there give us a hard time all the time if we're paired together, in the same group. Also, Big Mike Foster, they call him Hawaiian Mike. I've stayed in touch with him. Bart Lauer, that's used to own the driving range from Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
I talk to him every now and then, but I do talk to a few people that were on the big break, and it's good to we had the laughs after the re-airing of the episodes.
That's awesome. Next question is from Luca from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He asked, speaking of Bart, did you think that you were going to be awarded the special prize at the end of the series, or this TV show at the end of the final episode? It went to Bart.
Well, I was hoping that I would have been, because I finished second, and second place you got nothing. And but I know why Bart got it. He's a really nice guy. It's hard not to like the guy, and people are going to get more votes when somebody likes somebody, and not a lot of people like Double D. I guess I rubbed people the wrong way. So
you were certainly polarizing. I can tell you we had a pretty extensive survey and response back. I would beg to differ from you that people don't like you. You were definitely, there's people both sides, but we had a lot of questions that asked that specific question. How come Don didn't win that after such a great match with Kip? And we'll talk about the actual match.
Yeah.
Why didn't it go to you? It seems like, by the way, let's not take anything from Bart. He played great too. And by the way, early on, I would argue that he was probably the front runner early on in the series in the first few episodes.
He was.
But we had a ton of people saying they really felt bad for you. That here's Bart, here's Kip winning everything. His family's there hugging him. Here's Bart getting surprised with something, and you're sitting in the middle going, I got nothing. So
yeah, it was definitely frustrating. But I knew the reason why. It was I think the votes from the viewers, and normally the villain doesn't get too much.
That's true. This question's from Mike from California. He asks, Don, tell us about your relationship with Kip. There seems to be a tremendous amount of respect there. What was it like on the show, and what is it like now?
Well, what's so crazy is that he caddied on the PGA Tour a little bit when I first started. So I kind of knew of him. And then when I found out he was going to be on the show, we became friends. And never really talked to him very much when we were out there on tour, because you might not play with somebody the whole entire year. And now we take jabs at each other, because he knows I'm still bitter that, he won and got 4 exemptions and won all those prizes. But we have the utmost respect for each other, because he's got a family with 2 girls and I have a family with 2 girls, and it's not easy playing golf for a living, let alone not playing golf for a living and trying to caddy on the PGA Tour to take care of your family. And, not a lot of people know, but Kip Henley's played in over 30 nationwide or web.com events or Korn Ferry, whatever you want to say, and PGA Tour events. He's played a lot of events. He's a very, very good player.
I have to say, we've got a bunch of questions about the end of your match and how emotional it was. And a lot of those are, and we'll talk about this as well. Okay. But many of the questions were around Kip feeling emotions. Kip made the quote that he feels 50-50 right now. He's elated that he won, but he feels for you as well. And there was some real emotion. Obviously, you were very emotional, but he was emotional as well. Talk about that a little bit at the end. It's just all of your efforts, you guys, and it's not just the 2 weeks, right? That was one thing, but it's almost like all of the work and all the time on that range when in the dark, right? Going through. Tell us a little bit about what that emotion represented.
Well, you get there and you don't know what to expect. And as days progress, you see that you're hanging in there and you're hitting good shots and you're weighing out your players that you're playing against. And you're seeing guys getting lucky and you're seeing guys hitting great shots too. And then you get down to the final match, 2 of you. And a lot of people don't realize it took us almost 6 hours to play as a twosome, 18 holes. We had to wait for the cameras to get in line, and then they would tell us to hit. And, to go down to the 18th hole and then have to go more holes. And, one, like you said, one lucky shot or one shot could make the difference. And it was me 3-putting our second playoff hole and him 2-putting, who dictated who won the whole thing after all those numerous hours. It definitely, the emotions just come out of you because you're tired and you put everything you had in to win. And, if you're a competitor, I don't care who it is, you never want to lose. It's the worst feeling in the whole world to lose. And to anybody. I'm playing Uno with my daughter and I don't want her to win. And so in that case, I think I was upset that I didn't win, but I also I felt like I had just been hit over the head with a sledgehammer, and that's a tough thing.
Allison from Atlanta asked Donna, it's a good segue. She said, I felt so bad when you didn't win. You mentioned early in the show that the money doesn't mean anything. You've been poor, but you want to really take advantage of the 4 exemptions. As you look back on it now, how do you look back at Big Break? And I hope you achieve your goals in the future.
Well, that's, if I didn't win any money and I won those 4 exemptions, where I was in my career, those were worth more than money, because those would have jump-started my career. I'd missed so many web.com qualifiers and PGA Tour qualifiers by a shot. I missed getting in the U.S. Open by a shot. And to get a shot like that to play in 4 events, who knows what would have happened. I was a really good player back then. I would shoot anywhere from 63 to 65 at my home course, playing money games every day. And I just really needed, a big break, not a really big break. And those 4 exemptions were it,
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk. We have so many questions for Don. We're going to bring up quick hitter questions as we go through. We're going to siphon them in there. So I want one programming note. If you want to have your questions answered for future Big Break stars that'll be on Where Are They Now podcast, please send them through the social media channels at Where Are They Now podcast. And you could also email them over if you'd like at wherearetheyNowpodcast@gmail.com. And we'll get those answers. We have a bunch of folks coming up with I think I mentioned early on some of the stuff we've done this week. We're going to turn that around for you with Mark Silvers and Mark Murphy, and Cindy Miller is someone else that we just talked to. A lot of folks coming. So stay tuned for all that. Don, let's get into the origin of this whole thing, right? How did you find out about Big Break? You didn't have 6 series, before you to think. You only had 1. Were you a fan of the first episode? And then talk to us a little bit about the tryout.
Well, what's so weird is I didn't watch much of the first episode. I knew they were in Michigan. I knew they were at Rick Smith's golf course. I really didn't know anybody that was on it. I watched a few episodes. Some of the guys weren't very good. And when I heard that the application process came up, I was like, you know what? I was like, I got nothing to lose. And I looked at the application. I'm like, God, some stupid stuff on there asking you the dumbest questions. Like, what's the funniest thing that happened? Or what's the greatest shot you ever hit? Or, what's your best memory? Who's your favorite foursome? I'm like, who gives a crap? Just give me an interview. Let me just check this out. And then when I got the call to have an interview, I had to go all the way from Clearwater Beach all the way to Miami at Doral. And the process was, it really showed if you had ability. You had to hit 3 drivers, 1 straight, 1 cut, 1 draw, 3 5-irons at a flagstick, straight draw cut. You had to hit a 100-yard shot. And then they put a bucket about 10 yards away from you. You had to hit a flop shot. And it was the funniest thing. I'm out here watching. You had to get in line. And you're watching everybody hit, and you're watching guys skull the ball, shank the ball. I mean, they're so nervous. You can see them shaking, and I'm laughing. And, after we got done hitting those shots, then you had to do an interview process. They asked you a few questions. You had to answer them. And I'm watching people dressed. They look like clowns out there trying to get attention, the hope they get picked. Got like loudmouth clothes on and hats backwards and, trying to say funny things. And, that's great. But at the end of the day, they want guys that can actually play too.
That's right.
And, but there was 3,000 people that did auditions, and only 10 of us got picked. And there was over 10,000 applications. And this was just Big Break 2. I can't imagine how many they got when they went to Big Break 10, 12, 15, 18, or whatever. But there was a lot of people. So to get picked was huge.
So on the show, some of this goes back to the quick hitters question. People ask, they all have their investigative hats on. When they filmed you receiving the call, obviously you didn't have a cameraman in your house. That would give you a tell that you were going to be on the show. How did you find out? And what was the time frame? A lot of questions around, Don. You found out today. Is it a month before you take off? And then the post end, the competition's over. How long? And I think you mentioned this already. It was 2 or 3 months before it aired. Tell us a little bit about finding out about that you were selected.
Yeah. So, I went down there, did the auditions. I think they had 2 or 3 more auditions after that. I was, 3 weeks, I'd say 3 weeks, 4 weeks later, I get a call from the Golf Channel. I think they said, we'd like to meet up with you. Is there any chance we'd just like to talk to you about how your process went with the trying out? And it was all like a joke. They were just wanted to have the camera crew there to tell me about me being on the Big Break. So they just they said, we're doing a show kind of talking about guys that are trying to do the Big Break. So that's how that kind of works. So it was about 3 weeks later, somebody, asked if I would do it. And I said, yeah, I'll do it. I hope I get on the show. And then they showed up and they told me, got the call right then and there. And that's how that worked.
So it was actually pretty real because,
real.
Oh, that's
Definitely
pretty
real.
cool. I didn't know that. That's a great story.
Because I was right there with my wife and daughter. And now my daughter's 18 years old. So this was, she was 4 at the time. And it was a very exciting time to get that call and to realize that I have a chance to do something great with my life. And then after the show, they didn't air that show for almost 2.5, almost 3 months after we did it, because we did it almost in the middle of summertime. So they didn't air that until close to October, November. And that was probably the toughest thing, because it's hard to keep my mouth shut. And to keep something that quiet, not knowing, and those players on the PGA Tour jabbing me every day. Come on, tell me. I won't tell anybody. You got to tell me. I can't tell you. It was definitely tough.
That's awesome. So you don't know where you're going. You found out, you get the call, and then you're shipping out somewhere. You end up going to Ontario, California. I thought that was a pretty neat little, side note to the whole show, was we're going to kind of bring you guys out here. The funny part was, I think someone was from California. I don't know if it was Sean or somebody was from California. You're like, wait a minute, we missed a turn off here. We're not going to Vegas. And then all of a sudden they pulled into the hangar and you guys did the putt. And poor Big Mike ends up taking the bus. Tell us a little bit about getting to know everybody. Early on, I think the first day you guys, no one was eliminated the first day, if I remember correctly, on the first series or first episode.
Yep.
Your first impression, I know you through the show that a guy like you is looking at everybody from a competition standpoint, and you're looking from the mental strength, right? And as you get to know these people, did you have any preconceived notions of who's going to be talented? And by the way, did you know anybody out of the group?
I knew nobody on there other than Kip.
Okay.
And yeah, you're always, it doesn't matter what sport you're playing, you're always eyeing down your competitors. You're looking at their weaknesses, their strengths, how they handle themselves, how they talk. And, when we first kind of started to get to know each other, a few guys rubbed me the wrong way, because they have never accomplished anything in the game of golf, and talking about how if they had a tournament today, I would win it. But they've never won a golf tournament. And guys were saying, that, they felt like they were the best player there. And, here I am, I've won over 70 mini tour events. And at that time I had 9 course records, and I got it up to 14 course records at one time. And I'm laughing at these guys because, I guess it'd be the same thing as Tiger Woods, showing up to a tournament and knowing that none of these guys can beat you. I kind of felt that way. I felt like even though, these guys were there too, I kind of looked at guys, one guy was a professional bowler, but it wasn't bowling. It was called some other, forget what they do up north or in Canada. And then another guy was a baseball player, but never really played golf. Another guy was a school teacher. And I'm thinking, this is what I want to do for a living.
Right.
There's no way these guys can beat me. And then when I got to like Mike, he had played on the Nike tour back in the day. Mm-hmm. So I knew he was a very good player. And then I had a feeling Bart was a very good player because he owned a driving range. That means he just didn't sit on his hands at the driving range. He was hitting balls and practicing all the time. And those are the guys you have to be careful because their fundamentals are so good because they're constantly working on their fundamentals.
Good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
I definitely did look at everybody, and as the shows progressed, you could see that I knew that the guys that were going to stay around longer due to their competition, that they've played in the past.
So let's talk about some of those guys. People send in a bunch of questions about Bart and Sean and Big Mike and Dave and everybody. So first I have to ask you, what did you think when you met Dave and you found out he plays barefoot? I'm sure you've known guys to play barefoot. I've seen guys on the course myself, but to go to the show and play barefoot. And by just a side note, when he came back to the reunion show, he had golf shoes on. I do remember that. But anyway, give us your impressions of Dave, who you got pretty close to, I think, on the show. Did you not?
I did. So Dave's a very outgoing person, funny, joking around. Part of the reason why he had no shoes on is because he knew nobody would remember him. So part of the reason he took the shoes off is because it would attract attention. Also, people would, And actually, it's very good to hit balls without shoes on. Shows balance. You get to feel the ground. You get to feel where your body is. But Dave was a very good player. He wasn't a long player, but he had unbelievable short game. So anytime we had anything to deal with short game stuff, we were in trouble. He was a very, very good player, but he learned his lesson without having those shoes on. In one of the episodes, we had to play one of the courses that actually is a link style golf course, and the grass is long. And I don't know if I would be walking in any of that stuff barefooted, and he was.
Yeah, I do remember that. A lot of questions, Don, about you and Sean, roommates, by the way, on the show. But what was the tension like? Was it real? Tell us a little bit about your relationship with Sean.
Well, that was my roommate that I stayed with. And, he's a baseball player, and a lot of baseball players are very cocky, very confident. And you have to, I guess. And a lot of people don't realize this, but I think that the show itself wanted us to have like a little bit of button heads. So during our interview process at night, they would say, do you know that Sean said this about you? What do you think about that? And they probably did the same thing to him. So they'd get us kind of clashing. And, I like Sean, but to come into an arena that you're not comfortable with, thinking that you're good, that you've never really accomplished anything, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. It's kind of like me going to play down south and play against Tiger Woods and think I'm going to beat him. Yeah, you might be able to hit a couple good shots, but you're not going to beat him. That's the same thing as Sean coming in thinking that he's going to beat me or Kip or Big Mike. Right. It's not going to happen. I'm just sorry. You'd have to get lucky a lot. Yeah. When you got people that are skilled and have been doing this professionally, But that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. Many of the questions around Sean came from that tension. And then the follow-up to that was people felt bad that you took, when you were doing the breaking glass, I mean, I think it was maybe 5 or 6 people went after you in a row. And you said, yeah, they're kind of picking on me. Everybody was sending in questions about, Don, why don't you look at that as a compliment that they want you out first? Because that's how everybody perceived it. I have to tell you, as a fan of Big Break and someone watching, that's exactly what I thought too, was they're just taking him out, right? Why not? Yeah. But give us some thoughts around that. And by the way, Don, let me just add, you didn't make it easy either, because you kept, nobody could hit me. You guys aren't good enough. You were stoking the fire too.
Well, I don't know why that stuff came out. I think I got a little upset that they wanted to take me out, and I really didn't think about it the way you were thinking about it, or maybe the viewers were thinking that, they're taking you out because you're the best player there. I was more or less saying, hey, they wanted me out of there because maybe they felt threatened by me. But it definitely got under my skin, and I definitely, when they kept on missing, here again, everybody's saying, these guys are saying how good they are. And if you were that good, you would have broke the glass and taken me out quicker than taking 8, 9, 10 shots to do it. And so I kind of just threw them a little curveball. And also, all that stuff that you do can help you too down the line. Mm-hmm. Because when you try too hard in anything, you fail. And so if I put a lot of pressure on you, you're going to think about that when you come up to play me again somewhere down the line. So there are head games that are played on the PGA Tour and playing in mini tour golf all over to win. Even on the basketball courts, when Michael Jordan was playing, he's playing a head game with those guys too. So me saying that kind of got under their skin, and it probably affected them somewhere down the line with one of the shots if you ask one of the big breakers.
Yep. Well, I mean, you were doing things like, I loved when you made that putt to win the putting challenge and you yelled out the booyah and the fist pump. I mean, that's just classic Double D, right? I mean, that's just who you are. Your true emotion. One of the questions about you, Don, or many of the questions I should say, was there was so many highs and lows with you. It was, When you're excited, people knew it. When you were upset, people knew it. When you were emotional or you brought to tears, people felt it. And I think, some of the I think at least 3 have suggested, could you tell Don he should write a book? Because there's someone that's trying to live his dream and doing everything he can to possibly get there. And so wearing your emotions really made you one of the most polarizing folks. Whether they liked you or everything that you did is really separate to the fact that this is who I am. And so that came across by far in all the questions that we saw about you in the comments, was people hated you or loved you. They appreciated and respected the fact that you were who you are. Take it or leave it. Any comments to that or feedback?
Yeah, I mean, what's so weird is I've been that way my whole life. I mean, I've got a huge heart and, very caring. Leave it all out on the floor of the court, whatever, out on the golf course. And that show really elevated that even more. The pressure was so great because if you didn't hit a good shot, you go home. And I think that, I hadn't watched the show for 14 years until, a month ago. And, I'm sitting here watching it and I'm thinking, geez, why did I act like that? But I acted like that because I wanted people to know that it meant a lot to me. I'm not just there just to sip a cup of coffee or the tea. I'm there to win that tournament. And I think that's what I said there. I'm not here. I'm here to win. Yeah. And part of me wishes I wouldn't have gotten that emotional, but that's who I am. I want to win. I want to do well, and I don't like to fail.
Well, people love seeing you on the TV, seeing you on Big Break. And like I said, you were one of the fan favorites. We haven't had that much feedback from anybody, and really cool stuff. Let's get into the more of the competition. One of the things that viewers wanted to know was, and I asked, this doesn't have to necessarily do with you, but the Big Mike Sean accuracy challenge through the holes. People want to know behind the scenes, did that go on as long as it it showed on TV? And what did you do during that time? That was a question for you.
Well, what's so crazy is that show was all about just finesse, hitting it through those holes. And Sean swinging as hard as he could was dangerous. And there's another reason why I thought he was a knucklehead. And just because there's a prime example where he doesn't care about anybody else. And him hitting it as hard as he can, they were coming flying back at us. I mean, they didn't show every part of all that. And if they would have, people would have gone crazy because there was a lot of them that came back and almost hit us. And that did go on a long time.
Yeah,
so
it certainly did. A couple of memories on you on the course was that the driving competition, I think it was against Dave, where you just put 3 right down the middle of the pipe. Was it that line down the middle, if you remember, and you had to be closest to it?
Yep.
Really awesome there. And then the other one was the line on the green, where I think you either had to hit the line or get real close to it. And again, another big spot where Double D delivered. Give us some insight on both of those events.
Well, driving the golf ball is my forte. I always have, but I knew going up against Dave doesn't hit it far, but he hits it really accurate and he hits the same type of shot. So for me to win that competition, that driving closest to the line, was huge because anytime you beat somebody that's, I feel, better than you, gives you a lot of confidence. That was a huge, huge moment in the tournament, in the show, that gave me some confidence. And then hitting it closest to that line, and again, that's probably not my forte. I hit it a lot pin high, but I don't hit it close. I'm always pin high, which is not a bad thing to be pin high on a lot of putts. And so those were 2 episodes that I felt like kind of took me to another level, knowing that I maybe could compete against these guys and beat the best, because we were getting down to the nitty gritty there. I think we were down to only 5 guys or 6 guys left. And that's when it gets even tougher, when you see guys keep leaving but you're still there, but now you know the competition, there's no weak guns anymore. And so now you know you need to step it up.
Right. So I don't remember. My question is this: did the best two players get to the finals? And in my view, there's no doubt about it. I mean, the way, I don't know if it's how they filmed it. Was Bart third, or did he make the final four? I don't remember that off the top of my
I
head.
believe he finished third.
Okay, so the top three guys, in my view, then were there at the end. Same for you, or give me your thoughts.
Well, I mean, I've never talked about this at all. I've done other podcasts and stuff and did some social media stuff about this. But I really think that Kip didn't start out good, and he got a little better as the weeks progressed, as the days progressed, the shows progressed. And really, Bart played better than probably all of us until the very end. And I think the thing that hurt Bart is that he didn't have to go to a lot of elimination challenges. And so when we started getting down to the last three guys, now it put a lot of pressure on him that he hadn't had it all. And I honestly thought it was going to be me and Bart. I mean, Kip hit some unbelievable shots to move on to play, for us to play together. And but I definitely agree that, when I got there the first day and the second day and talked to these guys, I knew the guys that were going to be right there. I knew Kip was going to be there. I knew Bart would be there. Big Mike got a bad break in the dark.
Yeah, he did.
With one of the camera guys dropping something when he was hitting, and he missed that putt. A lot of people don't know that. One of the camera guys dropped something metal, and it hit the concrete and made a loud noise, and that's why he missed that putt. That's why he got eliminated. Kip eliminated him. And remember, he looked up over in that.
I do remember that.
Over there.
Yeah.
You couldn't hear that noise, and so a lot of people don't know that. So things like that happened during the big break that nobody knows. Yeah.
So take us through. Now we finally get to the finals, and boy, did Golf Channel turn that thing into a whole TV show with all the guys in the booth commentating on your play. I have to tell you, early on, Don, I thought you, from all these challenges you guys are going through, the finesse stuff, the accuracy, all of that kind of stuff, you felt, now we're going tee to green, and you look really comfortable. I mean, really in your groove playing tee to green. Is that fair to say? Is that where you felt most comfortable playing golf?
Yeah, I think after, waiting so long to hit shots, and now you're at the end of the show and you're playing golf. And I was in an unbelievable rhythm. I felt so good over it. When they told me it was time to hit, I fired right at the flag sticks. And where it really changed was on number 9. And a lot of people don't realize this. I'm 2 up on 9, and we're on the tee. And the Golf Channel didn't show this, but we're standing on the tee, and the Golf Channel told me I was good to hit. But Kip was standing in the middle of the tee box, still standing in the middle of the tee box, still standing in the middle of the tee box, even though it was my turn to hit. And I don't know if he did this to kind of get under my nerves, to get me all flustered, because he knew that I was playing well, and I had a nice rhythm, and he needed to throw me out of my rhythm, but he did. And he stood there until I told him, hey, I'd like to hit, Kip. And he goes, oh, just chill out, Double D. And I hit a bad shot there, and he ended up winning that hole. And that was really the whole turn of things, was on hole number 9. And he did throw me out of my rhythm. I didn't have the same rhythm that whole back 9. I was a little long or a little short. I was a little off. And good for him. I mean, that happens on the PGA Tour too, when you have to play with a slow player, or you have to play with somebody that's irritating. You have to learn how to deal with those things. And I didn't do a very good job dealing with those things. But
so before we get to the back 9, you guys had caddies, right?
Yep.
I don't know if they had. I think they might have had them for the finals in season 1, but I don't remember today. They don't, or the ending series. They didn't have caddies anymore. They just pushed their pull carts. And
Yeah.
do you know why that was, or did they feel like it was not fair, or caddies reading putts, or did you use your caddy? Tell us a little bit about that dynamic.
What's so weird is we didn't get to pick our caddy. See, that would have been fun. I would have liked to just ask the guys questions. Hey, how long you've been caddying? How long you've been caddying here?
Mm-hmm.
Just to see how they know how to read the greens and stuff and see who's the best for me. But they picked us a caddy, and that was fine. And I had a really good caddy. He was very good. He read the greens well. He knew how to keep his mouth shut. He knew when to say something, when not to. That's the same thing you need to do to be a great caddy on the PGA Tour. And but I don't know why they stopped doing that, having caddies. Maybe to put more pressure on the person, not having somebody to bail you out, because a caddy can bail you out.
Mm-hmm. No doubt.
It's a big help having a good caddy. And so maybe you'd see more emotions if you didn't have a caddy. I don't know, because there wasn't a lot of emotions going on other than number 17 for me when I hit that shot right over the flagstick and it went under that machine, and he instead of just pulling the machine out straight out, they had to turn it 9 different ways and just chewed up all that grass. And,
well, we're going to talk about that in a second, because I want to get your thoughts on that. But
okay.
So yeah, and thank you for that. So we go to the back 9 now. You won up. Take us through to 17 on your play between 10 and 17, and then we're going to talk about that tractor.
Well, we were going back and forth, pars, birdies. I don't think I made a bogey. I think I shot 70 that day, and played nicely. And we get to number 17, and I know we're coming down the nitty gritty, and I hit a pitching wedge that just flew over the back of the green. The pin was back there, and I didn't know it went under the machine until I got up there. And then I saw, it was a big machine, and I saw the tire ruts already there. And
yep.
I let my emotions, because you only have 2 holes left, or a hole left, and I didn't want one hole to determine who was going to win or lose off a bad break, because I didn't hit a bad shot. It's kind of like hitting it straight down the middle of the fairway, and you're in a divot that's 6 inches deep, and you can't get the ball out. That's a bad break.
Did you know that Kip supported you right there live said, hey, that's not fair? Like, he said that during the match. Did you see that, or
no?
Have you since seen that?
You know what's so weird is when I play golf, I don't hear anything. I don't see anything. I'm in the zone.
Yeah.
And I didn't even hear him say that until I watched it a month ago. I didn't even remember watching that when, 16 years ago.
Yeah.
When we watched it live. So I didn't know he was supporting me there, but definitely nice of him to do that, because he probably felt the same way. I don't want to lose off of a bad break like this.
Exactly right. So you get to extra holes, and take us through. People want to hear your synopsis of what happened in the extra holes. Take us through.
Well, went to 1. We both hit it in the fairway, both hit it on the green, 2 putted. The second hole's a par 5. Like the whole day, I've been hitting it straight down the middle. Kip had been hitting it right and left, but that golf course is Valley High is kind of like a bowling alley. Gutters on the right and left side, so if he hit a little right, it would come down to the fairway. And he had a good drive. I hit a good drive. I hit it on the right part of the green. He hit a beautiful shot right over the pin. And a lot of people don't realize this, but about a week and a half before we got there, the greens had been airified.
Mm.
And if you watch the show back again, you can see the holes. And I did hit a good putt, but it hit a couple holes and lost speed. And when it loses speed, it's going to come up short. And it came up about 3 feet short. And then he putted his down there to about 1.5 feet out. I gave it to him. And, I do 2 things that are really good. I drive the ball exceptionally well, and I putt well. And never in my wildest dream I'd ever think I would miss a putt, settle alone, leave it short. And I hit a good putt, and it came up just short. And, I've played golf a long time, and I've lost golf tournaments, but that feeling when that came up short, and I lost a big break and I got nothing for finishing second. It hurt bad. I still feel pain right now talking about it.
Yeah.
And it was hard to be happy for somebody else because I felt like I wanted to win. And maybe that's poor sportsmanship on my behalf. But it's hard to jump up and down and be happy for somebody else when after you've been there for 15 days, taping 20 hours a day, and you get laid it all on the line, and you come up just short by leaving it short. It's tough.
I would say that's just honest, Don. I don't think it's poor sportsman. It's just who you are, right? It's your real, raw emotion. It's unique, and that's who you are. You're unique. And when you missed that putt, or that putt came up short, and by the way, it was center cut, you stood up straight and you just looked around for a second, and there was like a moment that everybody's looking at you, looking around, and it was like, what is going through his mind right now? And you just described it as you're reflecting on all of this stuff, going, this is my tournament. I deserve to win this thing. And you can tell you were thinking that would be the end result, was you winning this whole thing. And that realization that that's not going to happen was all over your face. I thought that Rick handled it well at the end, including you. Matter of fact, there was one part of it, he's talking to you and Kip's behind you, and he won. I literally last night, there's the young woman, I don't remember who this coach was, but she's standing next to you, then it's you, and then it's Rick, and Rick is talking to you, and Kip's probably 4 feet out of the, in the background, and, going through all the stuff. But he was right. He said to you guys, I think you guys have both deserved to play on the Nationwide, and both of you have the talent to play in the PGA. And that was really cool. It was one of the best competitions, even now, 20-something series later, that was one of the best, man. That was awesome to watch. So
had the highest ratings of any show that's ever been on the Golf Channel ever.
Still to this day, it's true.
Still to this day, there's no show or no other show that's higher rating than Big Break 2.
That is awesome.
So that's pretty impressive.
So going back to the quick hitter questions, we had a ton of questions about what happens right then. So it's over, right? You guys have to probably go do interviews and do other stuff. Yeah. People were asking, do they fly home that night? Do they have a big party that night? What happened at the end that day?
So when we got finished, we went back to the hotel, ate food, had dinner, hung out, and then we flew out the next day. They didn't have no party or anything for us. The party that they had was the watch party that we all went to the Golf Channel. Everybody went, and we watched the last episode together.
Right.
That was kind of the watch party where me and Kip were back in the room while the rest of everybody's watching how things are panning out. The last episode of the show.
Were you guys watching back there as well?
Yep, we were. They had TVs back there, and we were watching, and we were watching all the other contestants up there watching us in the the match, because they weren't there for the match.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the first time. Last time they sent everybody home, so nobody knew. None of those guys knew.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. So take us through, before we're going to get to what you're up to today, but a lot of questions on once now this thing premieres. We have questions, Don, with you, your personality, did you become an instant celebrity in your town? Tell us about the post Big Break. Now it's aired, the series is going, people start recognizing you around town on the course, all that stuff.
It was probably, I never realized how big the Big Break was until I was on it. And after the shows were being, aired, how many people come up to you, recognize you. I think it hurt a little bit of my caddying, because people are screaming booyah or pull the tape tight when I'm caddying out there. And the towns that we went that were huge golf towns, like I went to Augusta National to watch the tournament one time, and I was giving autographs all day long. And people recognize me. I go to Canada. Canada's huge for hockey, huge for golf. Can't do anything. Like, I was at dinner with Chris DeMarco and J.J. Henry. And DeMarco was just on the Ryder Cup team. And people come up and want DeMarco. They don't even know DeMarco or J.J. Henry, and they want me to take a picture with these people. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, I never realized how huge the big break was until the show was over, and how many people came up to me. And, the comments up on social media, that's one thing I wish I would have never done, because I read them. And a lot of people said, I'm glad Double D lost. He was awful. I didn't like him. And I read the negative, but then I'd read the positive and I'd feel good. I kind of wish I would have stayed away from that. It was amazing how many people wrote about the match, about the big break, about me. I never dreamed that it would be that big.
Does the people still recognize you today? You're out there? Do people still talk to you and yell, pull it tight and that kind of thing still today?
People still recognize me all the time. I don't know how. I mean, I'm 16 years older. I'm 51 years old now, and it's crazy. And I've got a hat on and glasses, and they still recognize me. I don't know why. I don't know how. I mean, even if I'm not on the golf course and I'm somewhere, somebody comes up to me and says, "You're Double D from the big break," and I'm like, "How do you know that?"
Well, the rebroadcast of all these on these Monday day binge watching people are doing is going to bring all that back now, because they've done a ton of them week after week through a pandemic where everybody's home. So,
yeah.
I mean, and you're on a bunch of these things. I wanted to ask you before we find out, and we're going to get to it. We only have a few more questions, and I appreciate, Don, you spend your time. For those of you who don't recognize the voice or the face, and I know that's very few because they're all big break fans out there. We're talking to Double D Donatello. I wanted to ask you about the other things real quick. You do the reunion show. I thought it was really cool because a couple guys are razzing you about relying, and I forgot the young woman's name that you played with, who was a very good player.
She was very good.
But she needed you in break glass. Boom, you were there for that. She needed you on that. I think it was a wedge into the green, and man, I think you were praying. You were and then you came and delivered there too. Tell us a little bit about the reunion show. She seemed to turn on you too, by the way, at the end. Like, I don't know if that's drummed up kind of drama, but she was asking you questions like, "I'm not a good partner at the table." And you're like, "What?" I didn't say that. Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about your experience with the reunion show.
Well, the reunion show, it was so much different than Big Break 2. I knew what to expect, and things are a lot easier when you know what to expect. I knew that everybody knew what they were going to do, or, had been there before. Lot less pressure I felt. And there was 18 of us. It wasn't 10 of us, 18 of us. And it was only an hour from my house, even though I couldn't stay at home. I was only an hour away. I didn't have to fly anywhere. And I played the golf courses. I knew all the golf courses down there. And so it was a lot more relaxed. Also, we weren't taping 20 hours a day. We were taping 4 or 5 hours and just hanging out, having a good time.
Oh, that's great.
Jeez. And they had like 5 of us in a house together. So we're hanging out. All of us had houses. And so the atmosphere was totally different. Even though there was a champion, even though there was money involved, it didn't feel the same as Big Break 2.
Got it. We had a question, just to jump back to our quick hitter questions. And I don't know if you were even on the question when I asked it to you anyway. Pam left the show based on some drama. Were you there for that?
Oh, yeah.
What, could you tell us any insight? Was it just some bickering going on? Because all of a sudden you guys are lined up with the host and they say, Pam left the show, and that was it. That's kind of what we saw.
I think somebody said something to her. One of the other girls said something to her, and she started crying, and I guess it really hurt her, and she just felt like she didn't need to be around it. She's a really nice girl. I didn't get to know her very long, but I could tell that she was a very nice girl, had a big heart. And I don't know all the things that transpired there, but I know that she decided to call quits and go home.
Got it. We had some comments about her lifetime was different then. She wasn't playing golf. She had family, married, kids, all that stuff. So it seemed like she just didn't want to tolerate that kind of stuff before. Different from when she was on the show, single, trying to get back in playing golf. She just kind of had her own different life.
And she hit some beautiful shots on that show there. I think she was on the Kings Mill one. She holed out from the fairway. I think she made a 2-on-1 hole. I mean, she was a competitor, and I don't know all that happened in Big Break 7, but I would have liked to see her hang in there and played, because I think she would have gained a great deal of strength from that.
I agree.
Leaving hurt, can hurt you more.
Yep. Was the U.S. versus Europe, was that before the reunion or was that after?
That was Big Break 4.
Okay.
So that was before. And
so how does that happen? They call you up and say, Don, we need you as a guest spot on this show, and you go out for a day or two, or tell us about that.
So this is crazy. A lot of people don't know all these stories, but they call myself, Dave Gunnis, and Mike Foster and asked us if we wanted to be surprise guests over at Carnoustie over in Scotland. And they said, we're going to fly you out, you'll perform, and then we'll fly you back, and we're going to fly you coach. And Dave Gunnis says, we ain't flying coach. We're flying first class, business class, something. We ain't sitting in the back, all that, because it's a long flight.
Yeah, right.
And we all said, we don't want to come over there for one day. At least let us stay for 4 days. And so we can play golf instead of just flying in there, jet lag back home.
Right.
And so they decided to keep us there for 4 extra days. I think we stayed in Scotland for 5 days, flew in there, played golf, did our Big Break 4 surprise guest. And then I played 36 holes a day the next 3 days. And I could have played 72 holes a day. It was only dark for 2 hours a day.
Oh, my God.
And so we played 36 holes a day for 3 straight days. And some of the best golf I've ever been around at Carnoustie.
Wow.
That golf course is unbelievable. And I had such a great time, and then they flew us back home.
Great experience. I don't remember what you did, but I just, saw you guys come on. And by the way, you couldn't have picked 3 better guys, because everybody knew you 3. It was really cool to see. It was surprising, and it was cool. And then you started, I don't know, something about, that's not how it is in the U.S. or something like that. It was really just you being you.
Well, what transpired, we were playing an alternate shot, team alternate shot. So somebody'd have to hit the first tee ball, somebody'd have to hit the second ball, somebody'd have to hit the third shot. And so on the first hole, I believe it was Dave Gunnis hit, then Mike hit it on the green. I made a 30-footer with about 5 feet of break and gave him a fist pump. And I stirred the pot already that early. And then the second hole, Gunnis had to hit. So Gunnis hit off the tee, or no, Mike hit off the tee, and then Gunnis hit a terrible ball, way right. It's in the bushes. Mm-hmm. And so I get up there and take a drop, and a lot of people they didn't show this. I hit this ball, it's 230-something yards, hit a hybrid, straight up in the air, over the berm, over a hill, hit the flag stick, dropped down to a foot from the hole. I hit it a foot.
Did we see that on TV? I was going to say, I didn't.
I hit it 1 foot. They showed it after, but they didn't really say anything about it. I hit it 1 foot. Oh. It was the most incredible shot I've ever hit. And I've hit some great shots in my life. So when they realized that we wanted to abandon the ball, so you have the right to abandon a ball. You can say, hey, I don't want to go look for it. We know it's so far deep in there. There's going to be snakes in there.
Yep.
And they didn't like that, the European team. So the whole team that wasn't playing went to look for this ball. So me, Mr. Smartass, says, I guess it's their country. I guess they can do what they want to.
And then subsequently on the reunion show, I don't know the gentleman's name, but he's Eddie. He made a comment, oh no, that Double D guy's going to be here. Did you see that?
Yeah. Yep. That's Eddie. He used to caddy on the PGA Tour. Used to caddy for Cabrera.
Oh, okay. All right.
And so, so I don't know. I really rubbed him the wrong way. But, the crazy thing about it is they found the ball over there. And I don't know if you saw that shot I hit. I had hit a flop shot over this burn, over this hill. and I hit it down there to about 3 or 4 feet.
I did.
Great
I
flop
remember that.
shot.
Excellent flop shot. I did see
And
that.
then they made the putt, and we ended up beating the Europeans. And so that sent one of the Europeans home. And I think that's when Eddie went home. That's what really upset him.
Jeez.
So,
well, we're at the point where we want to find out what's going on with you today. A lot of questions about where you are, what you're doing, where do you live, how many kids do you have? I mean, you could share as much as you want or as little as you want, but people want to know what's Double D up to today.
Well, I've been caddying still on the PGA Tour. I'm caddying for a kid right now. He has no status on the PGA Tour, but he just graduated from Vanderbilt last year. His name is Will Gordon. He's already got 129 FedEx Cup points. He's been getting in PGA Tour events. He's top 10, Monday qualified. But with the way the COVID-19 and the epidemic happened here, no Korn Ferry Finals this year. Mm-hmm. So he would be in Korn Ferry Finals if we were playing them. And so still caddying. Will Gordon just got in Hartford. So if you all want to come out to Hartford and root us on, you got into Hartford. You got a sponsor invite there. And we need a first, second, or third. Third place will get us unlimited sponsor exemptions on the PGA Tour, point-wise. Wow. A second place will get him status on the PGA Tour for all of this year and next year.
Wow. So
the kid's a very, very good player. And I still have aspirations to do Champions Q School. I did it 2 years ago, but I hadn't played any events for 14 years. So I was very rusty. But I do have aspirations the next 2 or 3 years to maybe try and see if I can get in some events on the Champions Tour. I've got 2 daughters, one 12, one 18, and got an unbelievable wife that I've been married to for 22 years, and I've been together for 29 years. Getting ready next year will be 30 years together. And I live in Orlando, Florida, and this is a great place to live because, the weather's really good and I can play golf all the time.
That's awesome.
But I still have the same passion, not as good as I used to be, and that's frustrating, but I can still shoot 66, but I can still shoot 74 now. So it's a little different, but I still have the same heart and want to do well and want to be great. Just doesn't happen as much as it used to, older now.
Well, a couple things. One is you talk about Hartford, and definitely go out and see Don in Hartford. That's a great track too. I've River Highlands. I had the opportunity to play, and I just love that back nine, and it just was really cool. The drivable par 4, and then the par 3. Have you? I'm sure you've been there, right, or have played there, or have you not?
I have been there. This might be my 18th year going to caddy there.
Oh, okay.
I also great story. I caddied for JJ Henry there a couple of years. I didn't win with him, but he's a past champion there.
He is.
Also was paired a long time ago. I believe it was with DeMarco when I was caddying for Chris DeMarco back in '99. And that was the last time that I got to see Payne Stewart. We were paired with him the final day at that tournament. And then 3 weeks later, I think he died in that plane crash. So
yes.
That place has a pretty big spot in my heart. I've been there so many years, and the people there in Cromwell, Connecticut are unbelievable. And the tournament takes great care of us too. So that it makes you feel really special to be there.
Well, we wish you the best in Connecticut, and we wish you the best in your personal life too. You've brought a lot of joy to people watching, and like I said before, you're a polarizing figure. There's going to be people that disagree with how you are. I think from my standpoint, I love the uniqueness. I love the honesty. It's who you are, and you own it. And I think a lot of the listeners and viewers feel the same way. I'm going to put this out in public so we can get some heat from the viewers and as well. We're trying to put together some guest hosts as we go through. We've had such a good feedback from all of the participants in Big Break that we literally have 20 something more to go. And what I'm looking to do, Don, is to bring in a guest host and do, maybe 2 or 3 interviews, but have a perspective from a guy like you. And if you're interested in doing that, I ask you, the viewers and listeners, to please send in and encourage Don to participate. I know you're a busy man, but maybe we can get you back on the Where Are They Now podcast and sit side by side with me virtually and get this thing done.
I'd love to do that. I'd love to, there's so many things that people didn't see or don't know. And I think that's what makes people want to watch or want to like somebody or hear those stories, because they don't know the whole thing that happened, the whole story. And it's intriguing. So I'd love to help you out and love to be part of this. And I appreciate you having me on.
Awesome. That sounds like he's in. So we got one of our co-hosts. That's awesome. And Don, we'll be in touch. All the best. And thank you for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.